say Monica.
Sha'poppin, guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time seeing me, please engage with me, like, comment, subscribe. I am happy to have you here. So I want to go ahead, I'm not a queen of small talk. I want to go ahead and get into today's video. So in light of everything that's going on in my life, I've kind of just been in reflection mode and just been kind of thinking about all of the things I've accomplished and trying to keep things on the positive end. And it's funny because, as you know, social media will always pop up your memories, and it'll pop up what happened on this day 6 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. And some weeks ago, I actually got a memory amidst all of this crazy information that you guys now know of about my life and it changing and the courses and all of these things. I got a memory of when I traveled to Africa about 3 to 4 years ago. I'll be posting some memories in this video as I'm talking, and I basically want to do a video about how I managed to do it and all the processes that it took to basically get me to travel overseas. So let's go ahead and get into today's video. So kind of sort of story time within a story time, but a couple years ago, fresh out of high school, I was a baby Christian. I did not have access to the knowledge and the tradition that comes with religion living somewhere like New York. Though I did grow up going to a Catholic school, I had no personal knowledge on what the gospel meant or God or what making a decision like that meant to me. So when I got to Texas and I found out about the Bible Belt and I found out about church on Wednesdays and all of these kinds of things that were a part of church culture, I just latched to it because I was really looking for a sense of belonging and knowing and assurance, and I just wanted to grow up, and I wanted to kind of be sober-minded, and I think that's why I pursued that path during that time. And not only that, but I was going through a lot emotionally and mentally coming out of high school. I already knew off bat I wasn't going to have the traditional path, right? I was already going to be starting off going to community college, and a lot of my friends were signing off away to four-year universities, and that was already a huge separation for me. That whoa, like, where the separation is already happening. Some people are destined for things and other people are not. And so I really just delved into this whole Christian community. And I mention all of this because Christianity was actually what led me to Africa. I had never traveled internationally before. So if you're watching this and you want those tips, please keep watching. I had never traveled internationally before. I never knew what that experience was like, being on a plane for over 10 hours and traveling over time zones. So, me being extra overzealous Jasmine, I chose the furthest place I can go. I was all the way across the world. Whereas it's 3:06 here, it would be 3:06 a.m. on Tuesday. It's 3:06 here Monday right now. So like that just kind of gives you an idea of how far away I was, right? And I think that more than anything, this trip and just this accomplishment coming back up into my psyche and my mental makes me feel like, wow, like I felt like I was going through hell when I was saving the money to go, and I was working and I was sending out fundraiser invoices and I was asking family to help donate, but I went, and that was an experience under my notch that I can say I accomplished. At 19 years old, I went. So it kind of feels reflective of where I'm at right now. It feels like hell. There's a lot of things I'm doing. There's a lot of help I need, but I'm doing it, And so I think that that's why I wanted to make this video, just to shed light on that accomplishment, and not only that, but give knowledge to overseas travel. Not only that, but as I was traveling, I think my passion for Black people traveling and Black people seeing different cities and demographics and ways of living became super important to me, because I started to become very reflective on Texas and how, having access to a better education and a more family-oriented state and city overall just kind of changed my perspective on what my priorities were, what I genuinely felt like was important to me. And I still have friends and family who are in New York and they're thriving and they're in it, but I wonder sometimes if they feel less versed because they haven't been so many other places. And so I think that when I pursued this direction that, everybody's telling me, hey girl, you're crazy, you're going halfway across the world, but I was like, I gotta see this, I gotta be a part of this. I think that we all deserve to go against the grain that way. And of course, not all of us are socially and economically in the position to do so, but there's hacks, there's knowledge. You know, that's not to say pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but I am extremely passionate about Black people seeing the world and about venturing out from what you know, right? Every other family demographic makes seeing the world and culture and diversity a priority besides the standard. We're not even gonna say what the standard is, but y'all know, you know. But I think it's just important overall, and it became very important to me during the planning of this trip, because not only that, but I feel like I experienced so much socio and economical pushback in my corner, you know, to convince people that I was deserving of this trip and that I wasn't going to be unsafe, right? Because people, certain demographics get fearful about going to new places because they feel they don't know what to expect, right? But we don't know what to expect in our own neighborhoods, in movies, in malls now. We don't know what to expect overall. So travel is not something I feel like anybody should write off out of fear, being unsafe. There's ways around these things. There's Google Translate. There's phones. We will be okay. So just wanted to highlight on that as well before I get into the details about cost, situations that occurred. I got sick during the trip. Just overall revelations that I experienced and what being on a mission trip feels like, because essentially the trip was a mission trip. I went under the pretense of a religion and to spread kindness and wealth under doing that. Cost was about $4,000, a whopping $4,000. It was about $3,900, but of course including money, $100 to eat on the way to travel, because we flew, well, I'll get to that. But cost was $3,900. That is what essentially the program, the system, the team I was going with, that was all of our set price was $3,900, which I didn't consider that bad, because I assumed that about $1,000 to $1,200 was going to travel alone, right? And then they covered, I didn't have to worry about my personal expenses, so I knew that food, my hostel living, everything like that was also calculated in there. So if you probably just do your own math, about $1,000 to $1,200, and then, or $1,000 to $1,200 went to my flight and travels, and then about the rest of that went to hostel, food, you know, things like that, fun things, fun activities and such. So that was about how costs went. How I accomplished doing that was I was working and I was putting in them hours. I knew what I wanted to do. I wasn't making the greatest pay, but I just said, okay, if I work this much and if I can suspect that maybe my fundraising group will give this much, then let me fit this much just to cover myself. So I did that. I had an email subscription list, so I had a list of family members, aunties, uncles, coworkers, anybody who I felt like would invest in me. And every single Saturday, I'd wake up and I'd send them my newsletter, which was, hey, I want to go to Africa in this date. This is how much I have. This is the vision to go. Let me know if you want to give. And this was, I guess, kind of my first introduction to email marketing too, because like when I tell y'all these newsletters were going out every Saturday morning, I was vigilant, and it's just because I was just that determined. And even now talking about this, it shows me how vigilant I was, despite feeling so discouraged, despite feeling like, will I even go? I did it. Now, travel. So travel, girl, I don't even know how much travel was in total, including the time changes, but I could definitely say we were probably traveling for about a day and a half. So the first plane that we got onto was about 7 to 10 hours, and that went to London. Then we had a layover in London, which was about 2 hours, and it was super cool because I had never been to London, so a lot of people actually pursue that option. I had a couple friends who were African, and they were just like, yes, like, and as you know, or maybe some of you don't, but London culture is kind of tied to African culture. A lot of Africans go there and they set up a community, so a lot of my friends were like, you need to go and try to experience London. So we had like about a 3 to 4 hour layover in London. So we got out, looked at the Big Ben, we had some crepes, I believe, and we hopped right back into the airport to head to another, and this flight preceding the London one was about 10 to 11 hours, and that was heading to, I believe, the central part of Africa. It was not where we were going to be specifically, but it was the central part. And then after that, girl, we took another plane that went into the actual central airport of where we were going to be staying. And the 10 to 11 hour plane was actually pretty nice because, of course, with travel like that, that is why I said expense will be so expensive, because some airlines, especially when their main circuits are flying 10 plus hours, they're going to give you TV, movies, meals. So, you know, a lot of expenses will go into kind of keeping you comfortable, if anything. Another thing I was not expecting is my feet blew up. Around this time, Toms were like so poppin' still, and I don't know why, because like I'm ashamed I wore them, especially because I don't even know how much they were giving back, and like they just fell off. But I loved my Toms, and I brought them on the mission trip, and I brought them for travel because you could slip them on, slip them off. And girl, my feet blew up like a blowfish during the travel, and I didn't expect that because usually when I travel in-state, I'm good. I can sit on a plane, go to sleep, wake up, we're there. But of course, this was more intense. This was not that. So my feet blew up to the point where they couldn't even fit in the Toms anymore. I had to just, I think I pulled out a pair of slides in my luggage or in my carry-on to wear, because at that point my feet, I had been up in the air for so long that my feet, and I wasn't moving my feet a lot because I'm the kind of airline passenger where I don't like to bother the person who's beside me to go use the bathroom, and I wasn't on the outside at all that trip. So it was like, you know, I didn't take it as a sign that, oh, my body needs to get up and walk around. I just sat and watched my movies and binged and had a good time on the plane. And when I got off, I looked down and I might as well have been 6-7 months pregnant in the summertime because they looked like sausages. So that was another thing I was absolutely not prepared for. Of course, jet lag was something I was prepared for, but it definitely not my feet swelling up. So that's just something to be in mind of, is just think about your comfortability once you get to the airport for the beginning of your travels, because after that you can change and stuff, but you'll be in airport bathrooms. You won't be in the comfort of your home anymore. So dress as comfortably as possible for overseas travel, period. So on me getting sick, so we were working alongside a church that was doing a conference, and we were working with them several days at a time, and they were feeding us, hosting us. They were so amazing. The hospitality was crazy in Africa. I mean, crazy. Like, you can tell these people's pride and joy is serving you, and they would try to overfeed me, and I didn't want to say no, so I was living. But I had an issue with the water. So basically what I did was, they told me when I first got there, even those who were with us, the people who was our contact, our source of contact, who was helping us guide the city, they said, don't, be very careful, only drink bottled water. Not even because it's bad, but because it's just not water you're used to having in your body. And so I was like, cool. I did a smart thing, and one day I was at the hospital and I got ice. Ice is frozen water, and it's the water I'm not supposed to be drinking. But I had the ice, and I got sick for like a day and some change. Thankfully it just passed with hydration and like not eating anything, but I mean, the stomach pains were crazy, and trying to like experience pain and like being in pain in front of people that you're going on a trip with, it's just like, it was uncomfortable. But as far as the lessons learned, man, and it being a trip towards giving back, I think when you're in a position where you're about to give back, you need to be full. Your cup needs to be full. And spiritually, emotionally, mentally, I don't think I was prepared for the trip. In terms of the giving aspect, in terms of the adventure, the travel, putting myself out there, talking to people, whether they understood me or not, I was cool with that. But I think I hit a wall eventually in my giving because all of my issues came to light. And I think that's just without Christianity, without you going for a set purpose. Anytime you go somewhere else and you're put in that isolated, you're far from home, you can finally think about what it is that's going on in your psyche. I was struggling with a lot of things, and it was distracting what I truly went to do. And so I really had to check myself on that several times. As far as fun activity, got to walk a tiger and pet a cheetah, and we did a lot of those activities in South Africa. So South Africa is most likely where you're going to go for all of your tourist activities, Johannesburg specifically. South Africa is probably the most, I guess, popular part of it all. But what's funny is because I was there for 2 weeks, so I was there for 2 weeks, I don't know if I've said that yet. The first week I was in the village, so I was using the squatty potties. I was humbled, right? And then the second week we went to go do some fun things because they knew we didn't invest all this money to not do anything fun. And so we went and did the fun things, and it felt so bizarre going from the village to the tourist attractions, right? But both of them were equally enjoyable. I wouldn't take away the fact that I walked a cheetah or pet a lion or the other way around. But all in all, I would say that the experience was certainly life-changing. I mean, it was the first place I had ever been outside of the it was the first trip I had ever been outside of the U.S. And I went so young. And I think ultimately, I'm just super accomplished. I'm feeling good these past few days.
I no go pursue man, I go change my ways. I go reduce the banana, I no go do it again. If you leave me,
you guys are signing down this video, I want to know what trials y'all had to hurdle through.
my baby, if you leave me,
Whoa, like, girl, we thought we weren't going to go through
yeah, only you go.
just want to end this video on a positive note. Thank you guys for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, engage
This is how I used to do. Only you can chop my
like,
life.
super proud of that you're just thinking back and you're like, wow, I thought I was
Cassava for two. Baby,
but go.
oh my baby, forgive me.
Period. So once again, thank you guys for watching.
I don't do it again.
Interact with me on social media.
Oh my baby, forgive me.
I'm just trying to address the topics. Once again,
I don't do it again. Baby, I don't get the excuse. I body do kung fu. You know, say Penelope fine. She do me 1 by 2, yeah.